This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so we are going to do a review. The group here at Woodbury had some questions and sentences and a few parsing that they wanted to go through, and they made a list. So we're going to mainly be going through with them, but if you have a question, don't be afraid to let me know that. But the primary thing we're going to be doing is just working through these sentences. Okay. So the first one here, I think this is chapter 6 translation aid. Does that sound right? Like that?
Yes.
All right. So ta sabaton dia ton anthropon agenita kai uk ha anthropos dia ton sabaton. All right. So whenever you're translating a sentence that's a little bit longer like this, one of the first things you want to do is figure out what is the subject. So whenever you're looking at this, do you see anything that is in the nominative?
That second word there.
Ta sabaton. Okay. So what does ta sabaton mean? If you were to, here, let me do, well, it's Sabbath. So if you start looking at some of these words, if you write it out in English and transliterate it, so that would be S-A-B-B-A-T.
Oh,
You're already most of the way there. You see that?
yeah.
So especially if it's a word that's from Hebrew, you can usually figure that out to some degree. Now, the word Sabbath can mean two different things, right? Or Sabbaton. The most common one in the New Testament is Sabbath, like I said. It can mean something else, which I think is important to know, because this does come up every now and then. I'm muted. You're muted. Okay. What else can it mean? Week. So just something to keep in mind that every now and then you'll see that Sabbath doesn't make sense. So it gives you what dia there means. It means for. So most of the time 4 is going to be at the front of the sentence, right? We're usually going to bring that at the beginning of the sentence. So for the Sabbath. Okay. Now usually you're going to have the verb next. Ton anthropon is what?
The man.
Or
the mankind.
Yeah, for mankind, I think in this particular, I guess you could do man. Anyway, so you're gonna have for the Sabbath. Next, you're gonna have the verb. So for the Sabbath was made for man. Kai uk.
And
And.
I don't know, what's ook? Oh, and, that's, I know the verbs now.
Yeah.
And the,
7%.
yeah, but it's basically.
Ook means, it's one of those little short words I was talking about. It's an indeclinable word.
Is it day?
It's not.
Not.
Or it's negative. It can be used in certain ways where it means no or nothing, but you're going to see when we translate the rest of the sentence. Not is what makes sense here. And not ha anthropos.
The man.
Man.
For the Sabbath. Okay?
That's right, I understand.
This is the same thing, just broken out.
Where we at on,
Go back one
Where we at on
notch
the
there,
notes?
go back one little thing.
That was on page 3 of the one from Sunday. I had that from Sunday.
okay,
You know, on the-
oh, okay.
Oh, he didn't tell you what Genos Kuski means, did they?
No.
Okay. Ton Christon Pistusen, Oi Anthropoi, Hati Genos Kusi, Tain Agapain Autu. So let's just start off, because there are some words in here that I know you don't know what they mean. So let's start off with the things that we do know. What is the subject?
Christ.
Yeah.
No, that's not.
That's
Huh?
Ton Christon. What case is that?
Okay, hold on, let me look at them.
Ends in a new,
The accusative.
it's accusative. Okay, so that's gonna be our direct object. Okay?
Wait a minute, accusative singular?
Accusative singular masculine.
Okay.
Okay? So that's going to be our direct object. Now I'm gonna give you a hint. There's kind of two clauses in this sense. So that first line, he's done the chunking that we talked about for you. So the first chunk is the first sentence you see there, or the first line. So what's our subject now?
The subject would be that one.
Oi anthropoi.
Yeah.
Okay? What does anthropoi mean?
Men. Plural.
Okay. So men, I'll tell you, pistusen means believe. Men believe Christon, Christ.
Is oi in?
Oi is the.
Okay,
Oi is the article.
Men.
That is the plural
Men, okay.
nominative masculine.
What is that over there? Is that D two?
Yes.
Okay.
you mean Tom?
Ton is also the. Okay.
And so this first section right there.
Yep.
Is the Christ, what's that word?
Believe.
Believe.
The Christ believe?
Oi anthropoi is your subject.
Yes.
So men believe Christ.
Men believe Christ.
Because.
Hati genoskusi, tain agapain autu. Hati means what?
Because.
Because.
Because, yeah, or that.
Do you remember what gnosko means?
Knowledge or no?
No. Okay.
Wait a minute, which one is that?
The second word there. It's a verb. I don't expect you to know it yet, but we learned gnosko last semester. So it's because genoskusi, I can, that is a third person plural, is they know.
Because
Tain agapain.
they know the,
Agapain,
Yeah, they know
what is that word?
something love.
love,
That's
and
what-
then the love, and then it's autu, which is,
Two is, his love.
his. So it's men believe Christ because they know his love.
Is, okay, just for sake of, am I to capitalize his here, or am I just learning?
I will tell you that the convention to capitalize the name of deity is no longer accepted in scholarly circles. Whatever you want to do for your own benefit is whatever you want to do. But yes, the his here is referring back to Christ because it's the only
It's
antecedent.
his love.
So you don't have to, because we've got capitalized there,
You got-
or is
Christ
Christ capitalized?
I do.
Well, if you go with, I would say it's kind of goes back to what I was talking about is, do you think that Christ is a name or a title?
Right, if it was the one which you'd said the other day, king, we would capitalize it? Or just use king as
Or, I mean, you could say the Messiah, which could be or couldn't be capitalized, because Messiah means anointed one. It depends on which anointed one you're talking about, whether or not you capitalize it. I will tell you that most versions of the Bible do capitalize it because they want to sell Bibles, and rocking the boat doesn't get you Bibles.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, and I've heard that more than once. I've heard that.
I mean, that's, in scholarly circles, though, you don't capitalize deity unless it's distinguish something that's ambiguous. That's the only time. And really, if it's ambiguous, you should rewrite that sentence. Does that make sense? Okay. Some chapter 7 stuff. We did this one the other day, didn't we? Did we do this one? I don't think we did this one.
I don't think we did, hold on, I gotta find it.
Okay. Altois. So there's 2 different ways to do this one. Altois. So let's just go around, Jen. We're gonna do this twice. Case.
Would be dative.
Okay. Dative. Kathy, what's the number? Singular, plural.
It has to be singular. No, wait a minute.
I think you're looking at the wrong chart.
Yeah, it has to be dated plural.
Dative, plural. Gender.
Feminine. Okay,
You
masculine.
pick the only one that was, so, masculine. All right, so it can be dative, plural, masculine, or it can be
Dative plural, dative.
neuter, yeah. So it can be 2, and this is going to apply to all plural nouns. Masculine and neuter are going to be the same in the dative and the gender. Okay.
Right. Okay.
Is this my chart?
Uh,
Is it?
Yeah, what's that? Should have been in the book, doesn't it?
It's not got all the endings. You need the expanded one.
So what is that one name?
So that is the personal pronoun, so that would be them. It'd be them or to them. And so this is the article. This is the endings.
Here's one low.
That's it. That's it.
What page are you talking about?
In the books, it's,
Okay. Angelos Kuriou. Angelos. Case number, gender.
Oh. It has to be singular. Yeah.
Non-singular masculine. And inflected is
Angel.
angel. Okay, messenger would work too. Kuriou. Case number, gender.
singular.
Gender singular.
Yeah.
You have to know what the lexical is, but it's going to be either masculine or neuter, but it's masculine because the lexical form is kurios. Okay, what does that mean? Kuriou. Lord, but it's genitive. So what does that mean? Of the Lord. So angel Lord. Yep. Or if you want to adopt, if you're really against doing things the way we've always done them, if you put the Lord's angel, that would also be completely acceptable. Anytime you see a genitive where it's possessive, an apostrophe S is an acceptable translation of that. Just most versions don't because we've never done that before. Because it designates the same thing, it's possessive. Phone Angelum. Get it right in a minute. Phoneme, angelum.
Sound not a voice.
Sound.
Sound of the angel.
Well, it's angelone, so it's not angel. It's so it's the sound of the angels, or it could be. It's probably going to be the voice of the angels. That's genitive plural for angelone. Phoneme is case number gender. What's that?
It is got to be feminine, accused of saying.
Yep. Okay. Phone feu kai uk anthropu. All right. So phone we just talked about was voice, right? Voice or sound. Feu, case number gender.
God.
God.
But we're talking about using genitive singular.
Genitive singular masculine. And what does that mean? How would you translate that? It's not just God, but
And God's voice.
it's not just God, it's of God or gods. So it's the voice of God, kai,
And
uk,
not
and not anthropu,
man.
of man. The voice of God, not of man. Got it?
Of man
Because it's genitive. Okay. I guess this kind of, apparently we got all the genitive questions right next to each other. So you will see is what obsesta means. Tain, doxin, curiou. Okay, what's tain, doxin mean? Tain means thee. What's doxin mean?
Does that teach?
That's the doxscope. What is a doxology?
It's a story or something.
Doxology. Praise God for
Song.
Hymns.
Doxology means glory or majesty.
Oh, okay, you're asking.
So it's the regular, yeah, so you will see the glory of God. Oh, sorry, the Lord.
That's funny, but automatically when I looked at that, I knew that was Lord. I guess we're learning.
Yeah.
Little.
All right. All right, tain agapein, tu theou, uk eketa.
The love. God.
The love of God.
All right, so this one's, you need to start off, it gives you what the verb is. Eketa means you have, okay? So if you look at the rest of our sentence, I don't even know if we've learned the word for you yet, but what is the subject?
You.
You, and we don't have a you up here, so we know that basically the rest of the sentence is not going to be the subject. It's an understood subject. But it's not just you have, it's uk eketa.
You don't know.
You do not have.
You
Okay.
do not have.
So
But
the
it's you
uk,
do not have.
yeah, so uk makes it you do not have. Okay? So ukuketa, we'll start off with that. You do not have tain agapein,
The love of God.
the love of God.
You do not have the love of God?
Yep. That's not very nice.
The look on Kathy's face. He thinks about Charlotte Dawes.
All right.
If I don't have that, what do I have? No, I have nothing.
Struggle.
You struggle up to.
All right. This one's a little bit harder because you guys don't know what eke means, do you?
Where's it at?
The second word.
It's okay.
Or it's not understood, but it's,
Eke means he, she, it has. Yeah. So exousia. Do you guys know what that means?
Is that, no, that's not what we get acoustic and sound.
No. Exousia. Do you know what that is?
Exousia?
We had that one at some point. I don't know if it's been recently.
I don't think so.
So exousia means authority. Okay? All right, and it's what, now even if you don't know the word, can you tell me what case it's in?
The first word,
Yeah, it's accusative, singular. Okay? Right. So that's going to be a direct object. So we're not to our subject yet. What's our subject?
Son.
Son.
Leos.
Huios. Hapuios tu anthropou. So it's the son tu anthropou.
the man, the son of man,
Yeah. So the son of man has authority. Apsias nai, to forgive, hamartias.
sin. Is it just to forgive or is that have some, is that what it's
That's
going
what
to
that,
be?
yeah, to forgive is a, I'm blanking.
Say it again. So the son of man
The
has
subjunctive.
authority to
No.
forgive.
Sin.
What's that called?
The-
There's a word for whenever you make a verb into a noun. I can't remember what it is. It's like one of the last chapters. Anyway, to forgive sins. So that alpha sigma, that's accusative plural feminine. All right, chapter 8. Oh, okay. Here's a parsing one. Now I told you guys this hint. Hemera. So
Oh, down with that.
Hey there.
dative, they, and dative because it's that iota subscript.
This is different in it. Is this different? Or is that? It's this one?
Mhm.
Well, I don't see that, Amanda.
David, feminine,
I-
feminine.
I see it
So,
right here,
yep.
David singular.
Whenever you see this thing, that's dative singular. Then you just have to figure out if it's what the gender is.
Whenever you see it, you just gotta figure out the gender. Is that what you just said?
But this, according to what he did Sunday, it's feminine.
No, if it's alpha, it's feminine.
Oh,
I'm saying
okay.
that if you see an iota subscript,
Okay,
it's dative singular because they all three
that's just,
have the iota subscript.
okay.
If it's under an omega, it's either going to be
Which
accusative,
is new.
I'm sorry, either going to be neuter or masculine. If it's under an alpha or an eta, it's going to be feminine.
Okay.
And just as a reminder, so it's dative. What is our inflected meaning? It's day, but
It's.
what's our helping words with the dative? So our helping word,
The day.
to
And
or
Today.
today. That's two different words, so probably not that. It's probably going to be in for day, in the day.
I started saying you're gonna add the.
two internet,
before the day.
two internet.
Yeah.
So-
Or with is the other one, so with
This
the
is
day.
This is Humera.
Hey, Mara.
Hey, Mara.
With.
So just kind of review, rough breathing, gonna be an H, eta makes an A, mu makes an M, epsilon makes a short E, rho makes an R, alpha makes an A. Hey, Mara.
Hey, Mara.
Parabolice,
Okay, that's, that is going to be, accused.
I think actually-
plural. No, back up. That's going to be, Dated plural,
Dative plural,
feminine,
feminine,
and it means.
from
From what? It means
what's the lexical form?
Parable.
Para,
Parables.
parabole.
Parabole.
Parable, right?
Parabole. And the inflected meaning is
How do you spell that?
it's the same thing with an eta after the lambda.
How do you spell it in English?
Parabole.
It'd be
Parabole.
P-A-R-A.
Parable A.
Parabole.
I'll say, I don't know if you can.
The Three Stooges. How you spell that? Yeah, put it there. Put it there.
I think.
Okay, so
Parabole.
yeah, I was saying, the tech, like the phonetic way you write it
That's how it sounds.
would be like this.
Like hyperbole.
Gotcha.
Because you have to show that it's a long, it's an eight, an epsilon is just an eight. Okay, so what's the inflected meaning?
That's where you said,
In.
In
in
parables.
parables.
Yep. Okay, Aistain, Oiken. Do you have those cards?
Yeah.
Yes.
You're probably gonna want those for this little part. Did you just set them?
What?
No.
No.
No, those four.
Oh, these in the
I
back,
got that.
Remember those four? that
Yeah,
we
these
talked
great.
the sheets,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll probably want those for this little part.
Okay.
Okay, so go ahead and turn over to ACE in your sheets. So what are our choices for ACE?
through or in.
Okay, through or in, into is another one. Okay.
Right here, this.
That thing.
Oh, see, I can't find this sheet.
Okay, so Aistain, Oiken. Do you know what Oiken means?
Yes, we learned that a couple weeks ago. Out of, no, home, house.
House or home. So ACE means what?
Into.
Into? Into the home.
Into the
Or
house.
into the house, something like that.
Into the house.
Okay. Utas estin ha huias tu theu. This one doesn't actually have any prepositions in it.
The son of God.
Okay, that's the last part.
It's cold, is it the there?
Huh?
Is the ha, the there?
So this is one that goes back to our little, some of our rules. So hutas means what?
It means there.
This.
There.
This.
This,
This.
okay.
Estin,
This.
estin's a form of a me. So estin is the third person singular form of a me, meaning is. Okay,
And what?
is.
That's all a lot of writing for
This
this.
is,
Uh-huh. Ha huias tu theu.
this is the, no, this is the,
Uh-huh. This is
this
the
is the,
huias tu theu.
We is, we want to read Sunday.
Yep.
Son.
Son,
Oh,
tu
this is
theu.
the Son of God.
This is the Son of God. Now, the reason I say this is kind of interesting is this one brings up our little pecking order that I talked about for predicate nominatives. So you notice our predicate nominative actually is articulate, right? It's ha huias. But what is the, remember there was 3 rules for determining which one's the subject and which one is the predicate nominative? What was the number 1 rule?
Well, it's got a preposition in front of it.
Esteem's a verb.
So the son is the subject. No?
Remember our pecking order for predicate
Yes.
noun? This is the subject. So number one is pronouns. Pronouns are number one. And then
Oh.
tied is the article and proper nouns. So here we see it does have an article, but it gets trumped by the fact that hutas is a pronoun. So this is a good demonstration of the
So
rule.
pronoun trumps.
Pronoun trumps the article. Usually the article is how we tell what the subject is, but because this one has that, it has a pronoun as the subject, that takes higher weight than the article itself does. Okay, pretty good one.
Oh, and
Kai baptizanta. So that's a participle meaning they were being baptized. So,
And they will be baptized.
okay. Now, kind of that all of those four words are in that one word. So, hup autu inton iordane. Dane, sorry. All right. And they were being baptized. Hup autu. Now you've got, I'll tell you, that's hupa, but it cuts off the omicron because the next word starts with a vowel. So this is like a contraction in English. If the next word starts with a vowel, you drop off the last vowel. That happens with a lot of them.
So it had a eta?
Had an omicron. So hupa should be on your list. Should be on there. Let's see. It's at the bottom right.
Oh, okay, I was right at,
Bye.
By. Okay. Hupa autu.
And they will be being baptized by.
By. So this is where you need to know about prepositions. The case of a preposition just determines the function of the preposition. Sorry, the case of the object of the preposition just determines the function of the preposition. The meaning is whatever basically the lexical form is. Okay, so it'll be by him. Okay, so whenever you have an object of the preposition, the meaning of the case pretty much drops out. There's a handful of things I can show you where like it matters that it's the dative and you change it just a little bit, but in general, just stick with whatever the preposition means. So by him into Iordane. You guys remember what Iordane means?
Jordan.
Jordan.
They will be baptized by him in the
In
Jordan.
I
In the
don't know
Jordan.
meaning, but I knew that. Yes.
That does make sense.
Yes.
So, and they were being baptized by him in the Jordan. And you can see there, Iordane is in the dative, but it doesn't actually change the meaning. The reason it's dative is not because it means to, in, or with. The reason that it's dative is because whenever you have an object of preposition for and, it has to be in the dative. Does that make sense?
Now say that again.
The reason it is dative is not because it means to, in, or with. The reason it's dative is because and takes dative articles, objects of preposition.
So is it
Okay.
dated
Okay.
feminine?
It's to Iordane. So to, the article tells you that it's masculine, or more likely it's neuter because we're talking about a river.
Well, how do you know a river's neuter?
Well, that's the thing is like sin is feminine. So it's whether it's natural, whether it's natural gender, or it doesn't, I'm just saying from you can tell because of this, that's either masculine or neuter. And I don't know off my head which one they chose. My guess is it's probably neuter, because generally land things are neutered. But there are a few things like church is feminine.
Right.
Day is feminine, yeah, it's, so
Okay.
angel is masculine. Even if it's talking about a female angel, the word itself is masculine, so.
I believe Dr.
It's-
Mathis told us that.
Yeah, and that's why some people have said, well, there are no female angels. And we make a lot of assumptions when we say things like that, because
Right.
the language says it's based on the word itself. And the other thing of that is you're assuming that angels have gender when you say that,
Right.
which that in and of itself, I think, is a bit of a leap. Anyway,
But most of the angels we've heard about
they have masculine names.
Yes.
But we still are making a leap that just because they have a masculine name, that makes them
There's
male.
something masculine about them.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, like Michael's described as a warrior, so you just kind of, we say that, yeah, he must be a man, but does it really matter?
Yeah, do we really care?
People like to argue about things that aren't important. Okay.
Yeah.
So this one's a really long sentence, but they translated most of it for us. So Kai means and. Again, it's how you have there, and it came to pass, and ekanice. So
Those.
in those, tais hemerais. Hemerais is
Days.
days. So it came to pass in those days,
Jesus.
Jesus went. Now, apa, you've got on there. It goes in alphabetical order.
Okay, Paul
Away.
is going to be
Jesus went.
away from or?
Away from Nazareth,
Away from
Nazareth.
Nazareth.
Tais Galileus,
What is that? That's where taste. Oh, Galilee.
so Tais means it's what case? Tais Galileus? Genit. So it's Nazareth, Tais Galileus.
The city of Nazareth.
Nazareth of Galilee.
Nazareth of Galilee, and
Of Galilee. Okay.
was baptized. Ace ton Iordain, Hupa Ioanu.
Into the.
Into the river Jordan.
Into the Jordan, Hupa Ioanu.
By John.
By John. Yep.
Ooh. It seems like today, the way we write it is so much
She
more.
is sizzling.
Well, here's the thing, and you'll notice this. Look at how long, like, all of these English words we had to use to do this. This is actually a pretty short sentence in Greek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like, ebaptisthe is 3 words to translate that. Agenita is 4 words to translate that 1 word. So that's why if you look at the Greek New Testament, it's actually quite a bit shorter than the English, because they can say a lot with less words.
That's like when somebody says the shortest verse in the Bible is not what, John 2:14.
Yeah, rejoice evermore.
It's actually,
First Thessalonians.
pray for that. Yeah, it's First
It's-
Thessalonians 5.
It's rejoice evermore,
Okay, yeah.
which it's like 3 letters shorter. Anyway,
It's not Jesus wept, it's rejoice evermore because of the Greek.
Yeah.
So when people say it's, you're gonna say.
so you can be a prude, and
And
because that's a really good way to make
And it
friends,
depends
right?
Yeah, that's what we're doing, is trying to make friends.
It says King
By telling
James
people they're
business.
wrong. Telling people they're wrong. People love that. Love that. All right. Ha theos agape estin. Kai ha menon. Inte agape. Into theo mene. Kai ha theos in aute mene. Now, this is kind of a longer sentence, but you can see it repeats itself a lot, and this is going to be one of those kind of turn of phrase type sentences. So, okay. So, ha theos agape estin. Let's just start with that. Estin, what did I say means?
This, no. It's them.
Where you at?
It's the third, is the Amy paradigm is where you're gonna find this.
Oh, that's the is.
Yes, is. So it's the third person singular form of a me. And this is the most common one because we're usually, when we're reading the Bible, we're talking about he's, she's, and it's. We're not usually talking about yous, but it does come over now and then. Okay, so
The love of God.
esteem.
God.
God
Is love.
is love.
Because God's your subject.
Okay,
Okay.
Is
so
love.
God is nominative. Agape is nominative also. So it's a predicate nominative because theos has the article. That's how we know that it is the subject. Okay? So God is love. Kai ha menon inte agape. And one remaining inte agape.
In love.
In love. Now the second part here, into theo mene. So we're going to bring that to the front. So one remaining in love remains into theo. Remains
In God
in God. Kai ha theos.
and
And
the God
And God.
remains in him.
Yep, that's it.
God, and God remains in him.
Yeah, because
The
the
name, what does it mean?
same thing.
It just means,
Meno means remain. Remain or abide.
okay.
And that's the third person singular form of meno. It'd be meno, menes, mene. Okay? Any more questions on that one? It's long, it's kind of long, but it's actually pretty simple once you see that it's all similar words. And this is what I was talking about. So menon here has the same root as mene because these both have to do with remaining. But this is a verb. This is a noun. So they have the same root, but they don't necessarily have the same stem.
Well, that's a good example of why you use the word stem, you're talking about the other.
Yeah, that's why I said that. How many more are there?
One more in that chapter, and then there's several from the next chapter.
Well, the next chapter is tonight.
Three parsing.
The next chapter, chapter 9 is tonight, so.
I thought we did
Well-
chapter 9.
I don't think so. Chapter 9 is added, right? That's tonight's homework. Okay, Kai elegin autois ta sabaton dia ton anthropon. Agenata kai uk ha anthropos dia ta sabaton. All right, so we've got our first part. Kai elegin is and he, she, or it was saying.
You were saying?
Yeah, it's probably gonna be a he. Yeah, so this is Jesus talking. So, and he was saying,
To them.
autois is gonna be to them because it's dative. Everybody see that? Ta sabbaton,
On the Sabbath,
Sabbath.
the Sabbath. It's not on the Sabbath. It's just Sabbath.
okay,
The Sabbath,
and it gives us 4 for did, die,
huh? 4, yeah,
For the man.
okay.
Say that again, before we go back.
dia is, it's giving us what it
It's,
is.
yeah,
For
so
the man.
you're gonna have to bring agenata up to the sentence before. I think Jen already has these translated. So it's the Sabbath was made for man. Kai uk
And not
ha anthropos.
man made for the Sabbath.
Yeah, so this is
So I did
actually,
it first on sheet.
yeah, this is actually a longer, they added a couple things from we translated the second part of the sentence earlier.
So the Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Is this chapter 9? Okay, well, we're going to take a break here. I'm going to stop the recording temporarily,
I never got a chapter 9 homework.
and we
I've
will,
got a bunch of
We will
notes
come
on
back in a
chapter
second.
9 if we didn't go.
We went through we did the PowerPoint.
This conference will now be recorded.
okay. So we're going to go over the chapter 9 homework tonight. Continuing, now I will tell you for the parsing, we'll probably not do them all, but just kind of to go ahead and warn you, most of these are going to have multiple things where will be a correct answer. So we're going to go through all of them, but the understanding is whenever you got an adjective can be every single form that we have. It's just going to depend on context whenever you're translating as to which one it actually is. All right, let me get this. Okay. So let's start off with Gregory. Parse this and give me a translation. Gregory, can you hear me? What about Victoria? Can you hear me? It says I'm good.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead and parse this one.
Agathon, genitive, plural, masculine, feminine, or neuter, from agathos, meaning of good, like a good woman or a good man or good something.
I'd say it'd be
Women, it's plural.
okay. I mean, it's usually that would work if you're doing it like a substantive. I mean, it could just be good because it could just be describing
Yeah.
something. So it'd be either good, describing something, or it'd be like of the good men or of the good women or of the good things, something like that. If it was a substantive. But that's the big thing is what she said, that it is all three, masculine, feminine, and neuter. Because those are all three the same form. What about this one, Gregory? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Go ahead and do this one.
It's peace toss, right?
Okay.
And it is accusative, singular, and wouldn't it be masculine, feminine, or neuter?
So what is the lexical form of this word?
Pistos.
Okay. So what do we see is the ending including the vowel? I guess that's the easiest way to say it. Whenever we include the vowel, what's the?
Are you talking about, like, would it be talking about masculine?
So it wouldn't be masculine because it's an alpha.
Oh,
Okay.
feminine? Then feminine?
It's going to be feminine. Now, there's two things that it could be. So what feminine, what are the feminine endings? I guess that are sigma. There's two different cases that have sigma as the case ending. that are feminine.
Oh, you mean like, are we talking about plural stuff? Like, could be plural or
Well-
singular?
So it can be singular or plural, yes. If it's singular, what is the case?
Oh, it's dative or genitive.
So it's either a genitive singular feminine or
Mhm. Or accusative, plural feminine.
yeah. So it's one of those two. Okay? And like I said, without the context, we can't tell which one it is. But we know it's one of those two because those are the only ones that could have this ending. Okay?
Uh-huh.
Let's go to the next one.
Oh, did he say the list?
Oh, sorry. Lexical form, I think we said it while we were talking about it, is pistos. They couldn't hear me here.
And then the inflected meaning would it be either of faithful or of believing, or if it's
It kind of goes back to what I was saying before with Victoria's. If it was a substantive, it'd be like of the faithful women or of the faithful woman. And if it was the accusative, it'd be something like the faithful feminine things or the faithful women, something like that. But if you're just using it as an adjective, it just means faithful. So, and I don't know if I've talked about this. Whenever you're like for the quiz, it is perfectly acceptable to put as the inflected meaning as just faithful because it's an adjective. And adjectives really just mean whatever that adjective means. The reason they have case endings is to tell you what they belong with. So you still have to be able to parse it, but the meaning is a little bit easier. Okay. We talked a little bit about this one. Jenny, you want to do this one?
K-cos? That's what
Well-
you said it? K-cos? How'd you say that? K,
So that's the lexical. This is
yeah, the lexical.
is
Okay. Kakos?
Ka-
Kako.
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 Okay.
And it is dative, singular, masculine.
Or
I knew you was gonna do that. Or dative, singular, neutral.
Yeah.
Neutral.
neuter.
Neuter.
Yeah. So it's either dative-
Neutral.
It's either dative singular masculine or dative singular neuter. And the lexical form is
Bad.
well, you said it before.
Oh, Kako.
Kakos.
Kakos.
Okay. And it means
Inflected,
bad. I mentioned this last week, but I usually think of kakos as bad and Pony Ross as evil. Or maybe if you want to say kakos is evil, then I would say Pony Ross is probably wicked or something like that. Generally, Pony Ross is considered worse. Somebody from the Bros house want to do one?
I can try.
All right. Go ahead.
I
Sammy.
don't know the lexical form or the meaning though, but I can try to parse it.
Okay. Try to parse and we'll help you out with the rest of it.
Okay, so this looks like it could be accusative or nominative,
Okay.
neuter, or an accusative masculine.
Yep. One more thing. It can also be one other one. It could be a neuter accusative also.
Oh, I thought I said that.
Okay. But it's those three things. So it's going to either be accusative, not accusative masculine. It can be accusative neuter, or it can be nominative neuter. Okay.
And these are all singular.
All singular. And the word is necros, which is the lexical, which means dead. So the inflected meaning would be dead. And so Mounts pointed out, you can use this word as a substantive and it means like a corpse or a dead body. All right. I resent the link to Jake. It didn't look like he was able to get on there.
Do you want me to do this word?
Go ahead.
Well, I don't know what it means. What the?
Escatus.
Escatus. Exitus. Okay. Exitus. And it's accusative plural.
Accusative plural, what gender?
Masculine.
Do you have any idea what this word means?
Extusis. Is it a word that we learned in lesson 9?
I can't remember. No, I'm saying it's older than that. So it's older than lesson 9, so that means it's possibly not.
Extus.
Yeah, I would say this one actually can be an adjective or a noun, but go ahead. Anybody want to help him out? Last. Okay. Last, or yes, it's where you from. It's lasts. So it's plural, so it'd be lasts, but something along those finals or something. I can't ever think of actually seeing it in this form. So when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's interesting because this word's almost never plural. But if it is an adjective, that would be so if it's being used as an adjective, it can be a noun or an adjective. So if it's describing the final something, then it would be, that would make sense. But you can also have it stand by itself, which when we talk about the eschaton, that's what we're talking about. The last things or the end of all, or however you want to describe that. All right. You said this one earlier, so Dad, take Cosmu.
Cosmu, it's going to be genitive singular.
Yep.
And it's going to be neuter singular.
No. What's the lexical form of Cosmu?
It's not. The lexical form?
Yep. Of Cosmu
is world.
What's the lexical form though? That's the definition. Cosmos.
Cosmos.
Okay, so if it's cosmos, that puts it in that top right corner.
Well, the reason I was going was right here. I thought I ended I thought I ended right here. I got it here.
So it's,
you're masculine. Is that what you're asking for?
Genitive, singular, masculine, from cosmos, and the inflected meaning would be
world.
With the genitive.
Of world.
Of the world. Something like that. Okay. I want to skip forward to the translations. All right. Let's have Ezekiel take this one. Ha pistos doulos. It's not a full sentence if that helps you out any. It's more of a thing. So what does pistos mean?
Believing.
Okay,
Cool.
believing. And doulos means?
As, even as, just as.
Doulos. I think you're thinking of eon. Doulos is a slave,
Oh yeah.
or possibly sometimes, well, most translations actually put bondservant because that's more politically correct than saying slave. Personally, I don't like that because it sort of diminishes the power of that word. Because whenever we say that we are slaves to Christ instead of bondservants to Christ, to me that says something different. But anyway, so this would be the believing servant or the faithful servant or faithful slave or however you want to put that. Let's have Victoria, why don't you do this one?
Hey, Trite, hey, Mara. On or to the third day.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think we would probably say on the third day. Yeah, in the third day, I think is like the technically correct way to do this, but I've never heard anybody say that. So yeah, on the third day or with the third day, you have to know context a little bit better to know, but something like that. Okay, Jen, why don't you do this one?
So these, um,
Okay, I'll read it. Tois huios, tois pony rois, so they can hear it. So tois huios,
is the son,
okay. Tois pony rois,
that's the evil,
yeah, so it'd
so the
be
evil son.
the evil, and it's ois, so it's
To the evil son.
sons, yeah. So it'd be to the evil sons or with the evil sons, something like that. Jake still isn't on. Gregory, why don't you do this one? Ton huion, ton agapeton.
Would it be something like, let me just think about it for a second. Would it be something like the beloved son?
Yep. And why don't you tell me what is the parse huion for me?
Huion, accusative, singular, masculine.
Yep. And what would parse ton agapeton for me?
Agapeton.
Yep.
That is accusative, singular, masculine.
Yes. So it could be by form either accusative singular masculine, it could be accusative neuter, accusative singular neuter, it could be nominative singular neuter, but because we know it's describing huion, we have narrowed it down to only meaning one thing. Okay, so whenever we do a parsing exercise, it has multiple things. Once you put it in a context, it can only mean one thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just, I wanted to demonstrate that so people can understand that. You have a question, Victoria?
Yeah. I think it might be useful, at least for me, if you also talk about, you know, if it's an attributive or a substantive or predicate, because that was what I was having the most problems with, just recognizing what the form was.
These short ones, they want us to do them like attributives for the short ones. When we get to the actual sentences, I'll show that.
Okay.
And actually, let's just skip on to those because the warm-ups are, without a context, see, the warm-ups still kind of like the parsing. You don't see how it's working in the sentence. Okay. So why don't you go ahead and then take this one, Victoria?
Ha logos, krine, auton, ente, eskete, hemera.
Okay. So go ahead and translate it.
The word he, she, it will judge is referring to it, the word, will judge him. So here we have that again, which I guess would be on the last day.
Yeah. I guess in or on would both work. Because you've got the in there.
Positional phrase, so you would take that word when applied anyways. Okay.
So what is the function of eskete in this sentence? So what's the first thing you look for?
I guess I don't know what you're getting at. Eskete is describing hemera.
But what's the first thing you look for whenever you're doing adjectives? What are you looking for? You've got to determine if it's this or this.
If it's an attributive or a substantival.
How do you tell?
Oh, okay. Well, you would know here because there is the te.
The te. So the first thing you want to look for is there an article?
Yeah, an article.
So article there, that hints that this cannot be adverbial. Okay. Now it doesn't really tell you a whole lot else, but it can't be adverbial, which narrows it down quite a bit.
Question. So adverbial and predicate adjective is the same thing?
No. I'll get to that, but it's not. Adverbial doesn't come into play as much in adjectives. It comes more into play with whenever we start getting into participles. But you can have an adjective function adverbially, and that's why I say you need to see if it's there or not. I don't think that he throws any on here where it's acting adverbially until we get to participles. I don't think. I haven't looked through all the homework, but that's something that's a little bit more complicated. But so the next thing, this is the simplest way is to tell if it's attributive or substantive. First off, is there anywhere close to the adjective another word with the same case number and gender?
Yes, eskete and hemera match each other.
Right. So if you see two words that are that close together with the same case number and gender, it is almost always going to be attributive. There are very few exceptions to that, and I'll tell you that those are the ones that people argue about as to whether or not it's acting as a substantive, because at that point there would have to be several adjectives in a row, and you would have to be determining, is the adjective modifying an adjective or is the adjective modifying a noun? And that's what I was talking about with that question you sent me, is it almost has to be acting as a substantive to have multiple adjectives that are close proximity to one another for it to be different. So really what you try to do, try to translate it like an attributive, a describing word. Try to translate it like an attributive. If there's nothing that you can do to it, then it's usually a substantive. You can classify it if you want to, but really you're going to come back at the end and figure out if it's an attributive or a substantive based mostly on the context. Hey, I know we gave you the rules, but I'll tell you there's exceptions to those rules. But that's the main,
Okay.
the big rule is there something close that it's describing? And the way you tell if it's describing something is if the case number and gender are the same. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Let's, Sammy, you want to try this one?
Just let me think here.
Okay, I'll read it while you think. Ein de hora trete kai estaurosen auton. You want a word, a fun word, I guess. So staro is the word for crucify, and then staros is the word for cross. So that's embedded in this word here. So that's sta. This goes back to what I was talking about. So the sta would be a root. Staros would be the noun form. Staro is the verb. So they have the same root, but not necessarily the same stem. Okay. Sammy, you had time to think?
I'm not sure.
All right, well, let's start off with our post-positive de and bring it out to the front. So what's de mean?
And or but.
Yep, so we'll bring that out to the front. And you know what this word means? Ain?
Is that the?
No. Anybody here know?
What word are you talking about?
Ain, the one I got my cursor under.
Oh, in.
Anybody online want to help Sammy out here?
Is it he, she, or it was?
Each year it was, yeah. So was. Okay.
Something was.
Yeah.
On.
Okay. So and I'll give you a hint. It was.
And it was.
The hour.
Okay. Yeah, it's the trite is third. So it was the.
Okay. It was the third hour. And they crucified him?
Yep. All right. And sort of the same rule. So we have trite here, even though it doesn't have the same ending, this is a a feminine nominative. This is a feminine nominative. So you can see that these just go together and it's attributive, even though it has no article. This one's a little bit different because it's a predicate nominative in this construction. So it's not actually adverbial, but it sort of is. Why is it sort of adverbial? Does anybody know?
The hour.
The hour, that's why. It's because it's a time. Adverbs answer how, when, or where. So this answers when. So even though the construction is like an adjective, it's still answering a when question. That's why it doesn't have an article. Yeah, I didn't remember that this was written this way. I've translated this a few different times. All right. much stuff we got? Oh, we're getting close to the end. Let's do a few near the end. Oh, this is pretty good. Does anybody want to do this one? This is it's a little bit more complicated, but I like this sentence. Don't everybody jump at this at once.
Natalie, you were the only one that liked it.
Okay, let me read it. Me Niko Hupa Tu Kaku Allah Nika Into Agatho Ta Kakan. Okay, so we'll just do it as a group. What does may mean? Are you gonna say something?
Not.
Yeah, they
Not.
said not. Okay, so may Niko.
I'm not be conquered.
So it's do not be conquered. Okay. Does anybody know why it's may instead of oo?
Because the beginning starts with a noun.
No.
Well, you said.
Sorry.
It was a guess.
That was so wrong that I can't describe how long it was.
That's why nobody.
You know that scene from Ferris Bueller Days Off where it's like, you are so wrong, and we were all dumber. I mean,
Nobody volunteers. It's because you were.
all right, Victoria, do you know it? I see your microphone's on. Do you know why?
Not, no.
Okay. So Nico is an imperative, so it's a non-indicative word. So we use oo with indicative verbs. We use may with non-indicative. So this isn't just you go conquer. This is an imperative. This is, I remember how I talked about the let statements in the New Testament are sometimes stronger commands than the ones that say you. This is an example of that. You do not be conquered. Hupa tu kaku. What's hupa mean? It's on your list.
Bad.
Well, hupa.
Oh, it's on the other list.
Bye.
By. Yeah. By tu kaku.
Bad.
Do not be conquered by bad.
Bad.
Allah.
But,
Good.
or also, which is.
But, yeah. But conquer.
Conquer.
So it starts off with into agatho. So you guys have your little thing there. In can mean a couple different things. Usually it's in, but what else can it be? On your little list.
To, for, against,
About.
because of, in, with, during, by,
So what does agatho mean?
yeah.
Good. So what do you think is going to be the best way to do and in this context?
Conquer, for the good.
Let's translate the last word. So takakan is in what case?
Okay.
It's accusative. singular.
Okay, so we're going to conquer bad. Okay? So conquer bad. So we've got so far, do not be conquered by bad, but conquer bad with good. Yeah. So this is usually translated, do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. That's where this is from. But I like conquer better. I think conquer is a better way to, it is a word like Alexander the Great would use. It's that type of word. It's not just beat it. It's embarrass it. Yeah. Conquer. Yeah. Now, Victoria, this particular one, what are the words that Kaku and Agatho are describing? They're not. That's the point.
I started to say, but
Okay, they're substantive. Both of them are substantivals.
Yeah. All of the adjectives in the sentence are substantivals, and a big hint is they are objects of the preposition. So an object of the preposition can only be a substantive. That makes sense? So that's one hint. And then you have takakan at the end of the sentence without anything for it to describe. So it's usually going to be pretty obvious. And in this particular sentence, if I wouldn't have told you that those were adjectives, you probably would have read the sentence like they were nouns anyway. Does that make sense?
All right. Mm-hmm.
You're probably going to get a bit of a feel as to when it's being used substantively, because it's the only way that the sentence makes any sense. Because you start looking for things for it to describe, and there's nothing there for it to describe.
Right. And you can obviously see it's not part of, a construction where it's mirroring something else. It's all by itself.
Exactly. That's going to be what generally, if you assume that it's an attributive to begin with, and then start looking at the words, you're going to, like with this sentence, you're going to see pretty quickly it can't work that way. And like I said, a big hint is if it's an object of the preposition, it has to be a substantive, because there's no other thing that it can be other than a substantive, because then you no longer have an object if it's not a substantive. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Kind of working back. Let's see. I'm trying to skip the ones I want to use as quiz questions.
Yeah, somebody make a note.
This is a pretty good one. Does anybody want to do this one? You still have your microphone on, so you just volunteered.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, your microphone's on.
Oh.
So you can. Do you want me to read, or do you want to read it?
Pusatai me hakurias apa pontas ergu paneru kai sose ace tain basalayan autu tain epu ranian.
Yep.
Okay. Ha-Kyrios is the subject. The Lord will rescue me.
Okay.
Then there's a prepositional phrase.
Yep.
From every or all
I use every. So this is just me. Whenever it's singular, I use every. Whenever it's plural, I use all. That's just me, but all would work. But every,
Deed evil, so evil deed. And ergu and paniru are in the genitive because of apa, correct?
correct. So the apa here is, we talked about this in the review. Apa goes with ergu, and there's no of. It goes with it because apa takes a genitive in this particular case. It's not because it needs an of. Pontos is also genitive. So all three of those words are genitive.
Okay.
Did we learn go over the Pontos paradigm?
No.
We'll do that next week. Because it's easier once you know the third declension. Okay. So we're to Kai Sose.
And Hishiot will save. So I'm guessing that refers back to Jesus, the Lord.
Yep.
And he will save he will save into his heavenly kingdom. But I don't see what he's saving.
You can also use for. That would work.
So how would you try?
So I would say, the Lord will rescue me from every evil deed and save. I would actually bring the me down. Save me into.
Of course, save me, yes.
I would bring that down. I think the me there is going to be your accusative for both of these phrases. You could even do, he will rescue and save me. Like do it as one thing. But yeah, into his heavenly kingdoms, how I would do it.
So like Lord and you go with both of those things. It's like a parallel thought.
Right. I would put me in both for clarity, because it's a really jumbled sentence if you don't have it.
Okay.
Well, let me say that. If I was writing a translation, that's how I would do it. For a test, I wouldn't do that. I would just translate it verbatim how it is up there, because I know how my teachers grade. But for clarity, if I was actually wanting somebody to read it, I would repeat the me. Make sense?
Yep.
Let's stop there. So next week we're going to start the third declension. We may not finish it. We may spend a couple days. Like I'm probably going to go through all of the homework for third declension, just because it is, for this, the noun system is probably the hardest chapter. So we're going to spend some extra time there. The reason why the third declension is harder is because it's not as regular as the first and second declension at face value. Once you understand the pattern, it's just as regular as the other two. It just has some weird rules. And I think Mounts talks about this in one of his videos. I can teach you the rules, or you can memorize 400 extra things. So if you want to memorize 400 extra things, I still have that big fold out thing I showed you guys. So I can send you that. Otherwise, we'll see you next week and we'll start the third declension.